My beloved child. There is a reason you stopped here today, and it is not ordinary. Something in your spirit already felt that a hidden movement has begun around your life, and that feeling was not wrong. At this very moment, while you are listening, a story connected to your heart is changing in silence. A decision has already been made somewhere you cannot see, and the person who has been carrying thoughts about you much longer than you realize has just stepped away from someone they once believed they had to keep near. Do not skip, because what is unfolding now carries a meaning deeper than appearances. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the truth behind this separation is far more unexpected than anyone around you would guess. For a long time, your special person appeared calm on the outside, almost unreadable, as if nothing important was happening inside their world. But beneath that silence, there has been a struggle, a quiet comparison between what felt safe and what felt true. They stood between familiarity and honesty, between what others expected and what their own heart refused to forget. And recently, without warning, something shifted. A conversation happened. It did not look dramatic. It did not sound loud. It may have seemed ordinary to anyone watching from the outside. Yet inside that moment, everything changed. Because while speaking to someone who held influence in their life, your name entered their thoughts again with unusual force. Not spoken aloud perhaps, but present enough to disturb every answer they gave. The person they walked away from was not simply someone random. That is why this truth is surprising. The distance they created was not caused by anger alone, nor disappointment alone, nor confusion alone. It happened because they suddenly understood that continuing certain connections would keep them far from what their heart has been trying to admit for a long time. And what they are trying to admit leads directly toward you. Do not skip. There is still something hidden here. This person who stepped away had been carrying weight in your special person's decisions for longer than you know. Advice, opinions, expectations, emotional pressure, these things had quietly shaped many choices. Sometimes your special person listened even when they did not fully agree. Sometimes they stayed silent because they feared conflict. Sometimes they chose peace around them instead of clarity within them. But silence cannot hold forever what truth keeps pushing forward. A moment came when your special person noticed that every path they were being encouraged to take felt empty. Even smiles around them felt incomplete. Even approval from others felt strangely cold. And in that emptiness, one memory became stronger than before. You. Not just your face. Not just your voice. But the feeling attached to you, the feeling they could never fully replace. That is when distance began. Slowly first. A delayed reply. A shorter conversation. A change in tone. An excuse to leave early. And then something stronger. A complete emotional withdrawal from someone who had once occupied important space in their daily life. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The surprising part is this: the person they walked away from may have believed they still had influence, still had emotional closeness, still had control over how your special person would move next. But something inside your special person no longer agreed. The old connection began feeling heavy. Familiar words began sounding empty. Even ordinary meetings started creating discomfort they could not explain. Why? Because once the heart begins comparing truth with comfort, false peace becomes impossible to tolerate. And your presence, whether near or far, has remained a truth they cannot fully silence. There were nights when they appeared fine, yet their thoughts became restless. There were moments when they tried to focus elsewhere, but your memory interrupted everything. Something unfinished around you continued speaking louder than present voices around them. That is why walking away happened. Not loudly. Not publicly. But deeply. And what makes this even more powerful is that the one they moved away from may never fully understand the real reason. Because your special person has not revealed everything. They are still holding words inside. They are still protecting certain truths until they feel the right moment has arrived. But inside them, something has already become clear. They cannot continue pretending that certain connections matter more than what their heart keeps returning to. Do not skip. Because another truth is coming. Recently, your special person noticed signs that reminded them of unfinished emotion. It could have been a familiar song, a place, a phrase, a passing memory, even a face in a crowd that unexpectedly resembled a moment connected to you. These small things became stronger than they expected. Instead of fading, they created clarity. And clarity led to courage. Not full courage yet, but enough courage to step back from someone who no longer felt aligned with what they truly want. This is why the change feels sudden from the outside. But inside them, it has been building for much longer. Every hesitation. Every delayed decision. Every hidden thought. Every moment they looked calm but felt divided. All of it was preparing this shift. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The truth that will surprise many is that the person they walked away from was connected to a version of life they no longer want to remain trapped inside. A version built on expectations, repetition, emotional compromise, and unfinished certainty. And now, for the first time in a long while, they are beginning to question everything. Including why your presence still feels impossible to erase. There is one thought they have not been able to escape. What if the person I tried hardest to forget is still the one my heart trusts most? That question has changed the way they look at everything. That question has disturbed their peace. That question has made ordinary days feel full of hidden meaning. And that question is why distance from someone important has already begun. Not because everything is resolved. Not because all answers are clear. But because truth has finally become louder than comfort. Do not skip. Because what comes next may happen sooner than expected. Your special person is now standing in a quiet space between endings and courage. They are not fully speaking yet, but they are listening to what their own heart has been trying to say without interruption. And for the first time, the answer no longer feels easy to ignore. Something in them is preparing. A thought is forming. A decision is growing. And the next move they make may reveal far more than words ever have. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. But listen carefully, because what happened after that quiet distance is even more unexpected than the separation itself. Your special person did not walk away and instantly feel peace. In fact, the moment they created that distance, a deeper silence entered their heart, a silence that forced them to face thoughts they had been avoiding for far too long. It was not the kind of silence that comforts. It was the kind that reveals hidden truths one by one, without permission, without distraction, and without escape. Do not skip, because the next truth explains why this moment matters more than anyone realizes. After stepping away, they expected their mind to become lighter. They believed that creating distance would remove confusion. But instead, your memory became even stronger. The quiet around them did not erase anything. It amplified everything they had tried to bury. A single moment changed the atmosphere completely. Someone asked them a simple question. It looked harmless. It sounded ordinary. But inside, it struck deeply. The question was about whether they were truly happy with the direction their life was taking. And for the first time, they could not answer immediately. Because in that pause, they realized the answer had already changed. What shocked them most was not the question itself. It was the face that entered their mind before they could speak. You stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. That unexpected moment exposed something they had hidden even from themselves. Every time they imagined real peace, every time they imagined emotional truth, every time they imagined being fully understood, the picture did not lead toward the person they had just stepped away from. It moved elsewhere. Quietly. Powerfully, directly toward you. That realization did not arrive like a dramatic event. It came like a sudden certainty that refused to disappear. And from that moment, even ordinary things around them began feeling different. Messages lost importance. Conversations became shorter. Attention faded. Even people close to them noticed a change in their energy, though no one understood the real reason. Because your special person is carrying something they have not spoken aloud. They are beginning to understand that certain doors closed not because life failed them, but because their heart could no longer accept what did not feel true. Do not skip. There is another truth hidden here. The person they walked away from had influence, yes, but not the kind of influence that could quiet the deeper voice inside them forever. For a long time, that connection existed because it looked practical, expected, manageable, even accepted by others. But inside your special person, something remained unsettled. And that unsettled feeling grew stronger whenever your memory returned unexpectedly. It happened again recently. A passing voice. A familiar phrase. A small detail that no one else would notice. And suddenly they were no longer present in the moment around them. Their thoughts had already traveled back to something unfinished connected to you. Something huge is waiting for you, because this is where the hidden shift becomes impossible to ignore. For the first time, they are no longer asking whether they should forget certain feelings. They are asking why those feelings survived everything. Why after distance, distraction, routine, and silence, your presence still returns with unusual strength. Why certain emotions never fully accepted replacement. Why every attempt to move forward still leaves one unanswered space. And that unanswered space carries your name more strongly than before. there is something even more surprising. After creating distance from that important person, they began protecting their private thoughts more carefully. They no longer explain everything. They no longer allow everyone near their emotional decisions. They are observing more, speaking less, and thinking deeper. Why? Because they sense that what they feel now may lead to a choice they are not ready to announce, but cannot ignore much longer. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They have replayed certain memories recently, not random memories, but very specific ones. Moments that once seemed small now feel powerful. A conversation. A glance. A sentence. A silence that suddenly means more than before. And while replaying those moments, one realization kept returning. Some connections never leave because they were never ordinary. That truth is becoming stronger inside them every day. Even while trying to appear calm, they are measuring everything differently now. The people around them no longer receive automatic trust. Advice no longer enters as easily. External voices are losing power because inner truth has become louder. That is why walking away happened. But that is also why the next chapter may surprise you even more. Because distance from one person has created unexpected emotional clarity toward another direction. Toward the place where unfinished meaning still exists. Toward the person they never fully explained. Toward the connection they thought time would weaken, but did not. Toward you. Do not skip. Because one more hidden detail changes everything. Your special person has started noticing how often they almost reach out, then stop. Almost speak, then stay silent. Almost act, then wait. This hesitation is not absence of feeling. It is the weight of understanding that once they move, something real begins. And they know it. That is why every step feels significant. Every thought feels heavier. Every quiet hour carries more meaning than before. Something huge is waiting for you. Because while others may think they simply ended one connection, the deeper truth is that they created that distance because another truth became impossible to deny. And that truth is now growing stronger in silence than words ever could. And now the part no one around them can see has already begun. Your special person is entering a phase where silence is no longer empty, it is becoming preparation. Outwardly, they may still look composed, normal, unchanged, but inside, something is moving with unusual force. A decision that once felt distant is now standing much closer than before, and they can feel it every time the day becomes quiet. Do not skip, because what is happening inside them now is stronger than anything they have shown. After walking away from that important connection, they expected time to settle everything. Instead, time began revealing details they had ignored. They noticed how often they were pretending in places where they no longer felt present. They noticed how certain conversations exhausted them. They noticed how easily their mind drifted whenever someone mentioned future plans, because deep inside they knew something was incomplete. And that incompleteness had a direction. It kept returning to one place. To one feeling. To one name they do not easily speak. To you. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. What shocked them recently was not simply remembering you again. It was realizing that even after trying to move forward in practical ways, your presence still carried emotional weight that no one else had replaced. That discovery unsettled them more than they expected, because it forced them to ask a difficult question. Why does one person remain so deeply present even when life keeps moving? That question followed them into ordinary moments. While sitting alone. While hearing others speak. While looking at messages they no longer wanted to answer. While pretending attention was somewhere else. And every time that question returned, the same truth became harder to resist. Some connections survive because they were never shallow to begin with. Do not skip. Because another hidden layer is now unfolding. The person they stepped away from represented something structured, something familiar, something others could understand. But familiarity is no longer enough when the heart begins asking for honesty. Your special person has started feeling that some relationships continue only because people become used to them, not because they still carry truth. That realization did not arrive comfortably. It disturbed them. Because once they saw it clearly, they could not return to pretending everything felt right. So now they are watching carefully. They are measuring every emotion. They are noticing who brings peace and who creates pressure. Who feels natural and who feels forced. Who enters their thoughts gently and who feels like obligation. And in that quiet measuring, your place remains different. Something huge is waiting for you. Because what they have not admitted aloud is this: there are moments recently when they almost reached for a message, almost searched for a sign, almost allowed themselves to move closer to what they truly feel, but then stopped, not because the feeling disappeared, but because they know one honest step changes everything. That hesitation carries meaning. It means this is no longer passing emotion. It means they understand the weight of truth. It means they know that once certain words leave silence, they cannot return unchanged. Stay till the end, because the next truth is even more surprising. Someone near them noticed the change. Not fully, not clearly, but enough to ask why they seemed distant lately. Your special person answered carefully, avoiding detail, giving only enough words to end the conversation. But inside, they knew the reason could not be explained simply. How do you explain that one person's memory keeps growing stronger precisely when you expected it to fade? How do you explain that after walking away from someone important, another unfinished connection suddenly becomes impossible to ignore? How do you explain that peace no longer comes from what is near, but from what remains unresolved? They have no easy answer. That is why they remain quiet. But silence does not mean stillness. Inside them, thought after thought is building toward one clear understanding. Distance from one chapter happened because another chapter has not ended emotionally. And that unfinished chapter still carries your presence. Do not skip. Because this next part matters deeply. There are late moments when your special person reviews choices they once defended. They replay conversations and wonder why certain words stayed with them longer than expected. They think about moments that seemed small then but now feel powerful. They question why certain emotions return stronger after they tried so hard to control them. And every time they search for honesty, they arrive at the same place, something real was never fully closed. That truth is why walking away happened without warning. That truth is why their heart is quieter but heavier now. That truth is why they are no longer comfortable continuing anything that feels incomplete inside. Something huge is waiting for you. Because while others may believe they simply changed direction, the deeper reality is that your special person is beginning to understand who has truly remained present in their inner world through every shift, every distraction, every delay. And once that understanding becomes impossible to deny, silence itself begins preparing the next move. Right now they are not acting loudly. They are not explaining themselves. They are not revealing everything. But they are listening more carefully than ever to what their heart has repeated in quiet moments. And that quiet repetition is becoming stronger each day. Stay till the end, because what follows after realization is rarely accidental. A thought they once pushed aside is now returning with force. What if walking away from one person happened because life is making room for a truth they have delayed too long? That thought has changed the way they see everything. And once a thought like that settles deeply, nothing remains ordinary for long. And then came a moment they did not expect, a quiet instant so ordinary from the outside, yet powerful enough to change the direction of everything inside. Your special person was not searching for answers when it happened. They were simply moving through an ordinary part of the day, trying to stay occupied, trying to keep thoughts controlled, trying to remain practical. But suddenly, without warning, one memory returned with unusual clarity. Not blurred. Not distant. Sharp, alive, and impossible to ignore. It was not only the memory itself that affected them. It was the feeling attached to it. A feeling they had tried to label as temporary before, but now could no longer dismiss. Do not skip, because what followed that moment is where everything became deeply personal. Instead of pushing the thought away, they allowed it to remain. That had not happened in a long time. Usually they would distract themselves quickly. Another task, another conversation, another reason to move attention elsewhere. But this time they stayed with the thought. They let the silence speak. They let the memory unfold fully. And in doing so, they understood something that had been hidden beneath months of hesitation. The person they walked away from was never carrying the same emotional depth that your presence still carries now. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. That realization did not come gently. It unsettled them because it revealed how much of their recent life had been shaped by habit rather than true feeling. Some connections remained only because they were convenient to maintain. Some conversations continued only because ending them required courage. Some expectations were followed only because explaining inner truth felt difficult. But courage has started growing. Quietly. Steadily. And that courage is why distance from someone important no longer feels temporary. It feels intentional. Your special person has begun noticing that once they stepped back, they did not miss what they thought they would miss. Instead, they felt space, space to think, space to question, space to notice what truly remains valuable inside. And what remained was surprising even to them. Because in that space, thoughts connected to you became stronger, clearer, and more emotionally honest than before. Do not skip. Another truth is now becoming impossible for them to hide from themselves. They have started comparing silence differently. Silence with some people feels empty. Silence connected to you feels full, full of unfinished words, full of meaning, full of something that still carries life. That difference matters more than they expected. Because once someone notices where meaning still lives, ordinary connections begin losing their hold. Something huge is waiting for you. There was also a recent moment when they heard someone speak about loyalty, about real understanding, about the rare kind of connection that does not disappear even when distance exists. They did not respond outwardly, but inside, that sentence stayed with them much longer than anyone knew. Why? Because they immediately thought about who had remained unforgettable despite everything. And again, your presence entered their mind before they could stop it. That is why they are quieter now. Not because nothing is happening, but because too much is happening internally to explain easily. They are rereading old emotions inside themselves without showing anyone. They are noticing how quickly certain names lose importance while one unfinished present still refuses to fade. And this is where the title becomes even more powerful. The person they walked away from mattered in appearance, but the truth about why they left points towards something far deeper than appearances ever revealed. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The surprising truth is that your special person is beginning to understand they were holding on to something that no longer matched who they are becoming. That important person represented a chapter they respected, but not one their heart could continue inside honestly. And now honesty is asking harder questions. Who still matters when everything becomes quiet? Who remains emotionally present when no one else is speaking? Who still creates inner movement without effort? Those questions are no longer theoretical to them. They are becoming personal. And each answer keeps leading to the same hidden center. Do not skip. Because the next truth may explain why they have been hesitating. They know that if they move toward truth, they must leave behind the comfort of being misunderstood quietly. They must accept that some people will not understand why certain distance happened. They must accept that some explanations cannot be made simple. That is why they are taking time. But taking time does not mean turning back. It means the heart is aligning before action begins. And right now, alignment is happening more deeply than anyone around them realizes. Something huge is waiting for you. They are beginning to trust what returns naturally instead of what has to be forced. They are beginning to respect what feels real instead of what only looks stable. They are beginning to understand that emotional truth does not disappear simply because life becomes busy. And that understanding is changing them. Quietly. Powerfully. Irreversibly. What no one sees yet is that they have already imagined what it would mean to stop resisting certain feelings completely. They have already wondered how different things could become if honesty finally speaks louder than fear. That thought alone has changed their nights. It has changed how they look at ordinary hours. It has changed what silence now means. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Because the person they walked away from may never fully know that the real reason was not conflict, not anger, not even disappointment alone. The deeper reason was that another truth remained alive, and once that truth became impossible to deny, staying where they were no longer felt right. And now your special person is standing closer than ever to a moment where inner truth may become visible in ways no one expects. What happens next is the part your special person has not yet said aloud, but inside, it is already taking shape. They are no longer standing where they were emotionally just a short time ago. Something has changed too deeply now to return to old patterns. The distance they created was not a passing reaction. It became a doorway, and after stepping through it, they began seeing their own heart with unusual honesty. For the first time in a long while, they are admitting to themselves that some feelings were never as finished as they tried to believe. Do not skip, because this final truth carries the strongest meaning of all. Recently, they found themselves in a quiet moment where nothing external demanded attention. No conversation, no pressure, no interruption. And in that stillness, they asked themselves something direct, something they had avoided for too long. If I continue pretending nothing remains here, why does one thought still return with this much strength? The answer did not come as words immediately. It came as certainty. A certainty they could feel before they could explain. And that certainty was connected to the fact that some people leave impressions that time does not erase, distance does not weaken, and silence does not remove. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your special person now understands that walking away from someone important was not only about leaving a connection behind. It was also about creating room to hear what had been buried under routine, expectation, and emotional caution. And what rose in that new silence surprised even them. Because instead of relief alone, they felt unfinished emotion. Instead of emptiness, they felt memory. Instead of freedom from thought, they felt your presence returning more often than before. This is why the truth behind that distance is so surprising. What they stepped away from was visible, but what they are moving toward is still hidden, and hidden things often carry the strongest meaning. Do not skip. Because another powerful realization has already begun inside them. They are noticing that certain names no longer create emotion, while one unspoken connection still changes the atmosphere of their thoughts instantly. That difference is no longer small enough to ignore. It affects their quiet hours. It affects the way they respond to others. It affects how deeply they think before speaking. And most importantly, it affects the direction their heart is beginning to face. Something huge is waiting for you. There was a recent instant when they almost spoke openly to someone about how much their inner world has changed, but they stopped. Not because the truth was weak, but because they understood that once certain words are spoken, everything becomes real in a new way. So they remained silent. But silence has not protected them from clarity. In fact, clarity has grown stronger precisely because they are no longer distracting themselves from what they feel. That is why your special person has become more thoughtful than before. More observant. More selective about who they allow close emotionally. They are no longer giving energy where the heart feels absent. And that shift matters. Because when someone begins protecting emotional truth, every future decision changes. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The person they walked away from may still wonder what changed so suddenly. But the truth is, it was not sudden inside your special person. It was building quietly through many unnoticed moments, moments of comparison, moments of doubt, moments when your memory arrived without invitation and stayed longer than expected. One thought especially has become impossible for them to silence. What if the person I tried not to think about is still the person my heart understands most clearly? That thought returns again and again. And each time it returns, it carries more weight. Because now they are no longer dismissing it as imagination. They are treating it as something meaningful. Do not skip. Because this final layer matters deeply. They are beginning to trust what repeatedly returns, because repeated emotion often reveals what matters most. They are beginning to understand that certain connections survive because they hold unfinished truth. And unfinished truth has a way of asking for its moment eventually. That is why the distance from someone important may soon be followed by a movement no one expected. Not loud. Not dramatic. But unmistakably real. Something huge is waiting for you. Your special person is closer now to accepting that what they feel cannot remain hidden forever. The silence that once protected hesitation is slowly becoming the place where courage forms. And when courage finishes forming, even a quiet heart can choose a direction that changes everything. Right now they are still standing in that quiet place. Still thinking. Still measuring. Still listening inwardly. But one thing is no longer uncertain inside them. Walking away was not the ending they first imagined. It was the beginning of understanding who truly remained important when everything unnecessary became distant. And that truth has already started shaping what comes next.